There's one last question I want to ask you, which kind of came up a little earlier, and I wanted to ask you then, but then I thought I'll ask you later, right?
Mm.
And then after that, you can suggest some hacks and resources and things like that as well. The question I wanted to ask you, which was very interesting, I think, was how do you socialize effectively?
Oh, okay. Interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. How do you socialize
Yeah,
effectively?
because you mentioned like obviously one of your mentors and teachers kind of had a whole plan for how to do
Yeah,
it and things like
yeah,
this. So
yeah,
like if for those of us that are trying to manage our time well, maybe we manage our work and our families well, but the whole socializing, a
yeah,
lot of us kind of drops. So what's the kind of
yeah.
tips and tricks
Okay,
you have for
I'll
that?
tell you what he does then, because this is something I'm working on myself, to be honest. But what he does, he will look at his whole calendar a year in advance, and then he will actually like just like we like those who are effective with their time and and I know yourself for example I know you plan a year in advance and you plan projects for your work and things like that, so many of us are quite good at doing that for our work and things like that. So what he does, he intentionally looks in the calendar a year ahead and he thinks, okay, so what he actually does, he has one trip abroad, and this might be maybe but some, I know Muslims who do this, right? He has one trip abroad which will be with friends, right? So he will think in the year of which month, when would I like to actually go abroad with a friend? Where would I like to go? So he's designated that as a month when he's going to do it, and then he knows it's going to be a project, and that's something he's going to work on nearer the time. Right, so that's the first thing. Then he will do the same thing for like, okay, monthly. What I'm going to are there going to be monthly gatherings or monthly places? More frequently than once a year. What about my friends in the area, or who do I want to visit this year? Yeah. Um, and then and to give an example close to home, so what me and my wife will do is like one of the best ways to get social things going is, as you know, is food is the way to a man's heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's to kind of have dawats, right? So we would actually plan, like we'd look like 3 4 months ahead, and we think, okay, and make it easy for yourself, right? Like don't like I don't know what your parents are, but I'm sure they're probably like mine, that you'd have dawats all the time, right? Like your dad would just say, yeah,
Mm.
these
Come
guys are
around.
coming down,
Yeah, make the
yeah, and
food.
just
That's
come
it. Make it
short
now.
notice.
But that's like 5 minutes notice. Yeah, yeah. Get the food
Yeah,
ready.
yeah, yeah. I don't think women are built like that now. I don't think we did that.
You get murdered.
So we would do. I'd recommend once a month, right? If you can even do that, if everything is working well in the life, have arrange. Look at the next 3 months, right? And Ramadan's coming up, so Ramadan you might have even more like iftar parties, right?
Yeah.
And so looking ahead and think, okay, and actually write down all the friends. And one way you do it is like look at the debts, right? Who has invited me in the last year and I've not even invited them back, right? Start off with them,
Good.
prioritize them, and then think, who would I like to get to know? Who would I like to have around? And so just that process. Most people don't even do that, right? If you just did that, it happens. It's beautiful. And
Mm.
then and then you have it monthly. And I'm reminding myself I need to do this for this year, to be honest. And then the third thing he does when he goes on a trip or on a holiday, he will actually kind of plan in advance, like who's coming, where we're going to go, what we're going to do. And he would like when he went on holiday, I actually saw he pre-planned his social time, like not in the same detail, like he wouldn't like minute to hour by hour, but literally like morning, this is what we're going to do, afternoon, we're going to do this, and I do that myself on holidays. That to kind of I'd block it out in bigger chunks. So I think that's one of the things people think, oh, it's fun, we're having a good time. We don't be planning and things like that. Yeah, like when you plan normally, you do it like hour by hour or something. But when you're in a weekend or a holiday, don't do it like that. But do it morning, afternoon, evening, just that night. And then one thing in Indistractable, my book I'll go over there, book called Indistractable. What the author of that recommends is he does something called a weekly kibbutz. I think it's a Hebrew phrase, where they'll get together on a weekly basis, and he will invite his friends and they will get together and they will I'm just quite interesting, so they will talk about a topic. They'll actually have a topic, like something about like something like how do we raise our kids best in the best way. It'd be something like personal development related, like almost like a TED talk type topic. And that's what they'll all come, and a different person will I think they'll just discuss that, right? So it sounds a bit formal, but he says the reason why they do that is that it's just a nice icebreaker, and it makes it like kind of I think Benjamin Franklin did a similar thing as well, right? And another great book, if you want to read about this, it's one of my. I mean, I don't know if you want to get to that. I've written down 7 recommended books, but one of them I was going to recommend. I've said it already. Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. The beauty of that book, the first half, he gives a masterclass, amazing advice on, and it's very nuanced. It's not just like don't use computers. No, he's talking about how to do it, and he gives amazing examples of the Amish community and all these really nuanced, subtle, intelligent suggestions on how to minimize your digital use. And then the second half, he gives you all these beautiful suggestions about what to do instead. And part of that, and he gives amazing examples of people like Money Mustache. I don't know if you heard of Money Mustache, right? He's one of the famous investors in the world. He's one of the famous advisors on how to kind of. He started the movement on how to basically kind of live. Financial freedom, basically get financial freedom in your 30s and 40s, and he uses a lot of his time to do real manual labor, and he likes making and building things, right? So in that book, there's some amazing examples of what to do, how to socialize, right? Basically, and they quote Benjamin Franklin, who was an amazing man. Like he was the one who came up with the quote, "Early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise." And he used to do this kibbutz type thing. They would get together on a regular basis, and they would talk about different issues, and it would be social, but at the same time, it would be beneficial. And my last thing I'd say is to have attend a weekly Islamic majlis, right? Whether it's dhikr or whether it's knowledge or ilm, and ideally a majlis which has a social element at the end. That's alhamdulillah, I've been doing that for 20 years at least, and alhamdulillah, that means at least once a week I will meet my friends without fail.
Amazing, wonderful, wonderful advice, and I think it's a topic that's very, very neglected,